Hi, today's lesson is on the intro to Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. So it's Jimmy Page playing guitar. And we need to use fingers for this on the right hand, so no pick for this section. There are certain parts where you have to play two strings together that are separate. So for example, the fourth and the first, so you can't use a pick for this. And we'll just get straight into it. So there's several half bar chords, which are chords where your finger is covering 3 or 4 strings here. Now to begin with, it only needs to be over 3 strings at the 5th fret, the highest 3. But some people find it easier to cover 4, and there's one of the chords that we're going to play, it does need to be over 4, so you might find it easier to start with over 4, but you can experiment with that. So anyway, start off with this one over at 3 or 4 at the 5th fret. Third finger has to play this note here, which is the 7th fret on the 4th string. So that's a bit tricky because you've got to keep this one flat, and then this one mustn't flatten because you don't want it to be touching these 3 strings. So you have to arch that one. The position of your thumb makes a big difference here. So if your thumb's very high up and you're finding that difficult to do this, try putting your thumb lower so that your hand comes out like that. Okay, and then with this hand, we play 4th string with the thumb, and then 3rd string with your 1st finger, 2nd string 2nd finger, 1st string 3rd finger. And that's quite important to use the right fingers here, like that, rather than, or try to use thumb 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And then for the next chord, keep the 1st finger flattened over those 3, or 4 if that's what you opted for. And then the 3rd finger moves across like this down onto the 1st string, still 7th fret. 2nd finger plays 6th fret on the 4th string. And again, it's got to arch so it doesn't flatten down. So it's slightly harder, this one. So we've got 6, 5, 5, 7. And with this hand, this pattern that we're about to do is repeated quite a lot in this intro. We play the 4th string with the thumb and then the 1st string with your 3rd finger, both together. And again, it's best to use the right fingers for this. So we play those two together, 2nd finger, 2nd string, 1st finger on the 3rd string, and then 3rd finger on the 1st string. So that's. If you put that together with the 1st chord, it's this. And then for the next one, take the 3rd finger away, put your 4th finger on, so it's 8th fret on the 1st string. Take this one away, and now this is where this finger needs to be over 4 strings, whether it was before or not. It does need to be covering that 4th string now. So it's just 2 fingers for this, and the same pattern here. So 4 and 1 together, then 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st string. So now I'll put the 3 together. This is the best way to learn this one. Add each chord on to the end of the sequence you've just learned, and then add the next chord on, and just keep adding one on, but go back to the beginning each time. So it's. And then the 4th chord, we move this half bar down to the 2nd fret. It does only need to be over 3 strings here, but most people find it's easier just to keep it over 4 because you're moving quickly from this one. So just go like that. And then we add the 2nd finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, 3rd finger, 4th string, 4th fret. So you've got this shape. It's actually a D chord. And we play that same pattern here we've just been doing. Now that's the part that most people find the most difficult in playing this intro, is getting from this chord to that one. So I'll put them together. And then if I just play that again and have a look at the right hand, just to remind you what that pattern was. First pattern's different. And the next chord is an F major 7, which is this. You may know this one. So it's going 3, 2, 1, open. So it's 4 strings. And now the pattern changes this time, just slightly. So we play the 4th string and the 1st string together like we did before. 2nd string with your 2nd finger. 3rd string with your 1st finger. And instead of going back to the 1st string, now we go to the 2nd string, the 2nd finger. So it's... There's a slight pause, and then you play 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string. And all the way through it's like these fingers have got strings that they're assigned. So that goes with that string, that goes with that one, that goes with that one. That changes at one point here in the next part. So now from the beginning we've got and then we play this little shape here, which is just one finger, 2nd finger, 2nd fret of the 5th string, and here we're playing the 5th string with the thumb, and then 2nd and 3rd strings both open, because I'm not doing anything here, with these 2 fingers, and you play these all together like this. And from there, think of this next one as an A minor chord, standard A minor, but without that finger, without the 2nd. Now, you might be tempted to play this like that, but try to do it with your 3rd finger here instead of 2nd. It just makes it flow more when you go from the previous shape. So it's like that. So this one lifts off as those 2 go on. Like that. And then you play the same strings here twice more. So it's... when Jimmy Page used to play this live, sometimes he did that as a hammer on and a pull off at the same time. So he'd play the strings once, like that, and his finger would pull off here and he'd hammer on there, which is quite awkward. But for now we're playing like the original song. Like that. So from the beginning. And then there's a little, what we call a fill, which is just a couple of notes. 5th string open. Slide from the 3rd fret of the 5th string up to the 8th. So you don't really hear the 3. You hear the 8. Like that. So it's not... You don't want to hear the 3, but that's where we slide from. And then play 2nd finger on the 7th fret of the same string. Like that. And then from this point on it starts again, and you play the whole thing again without the fill on the end, without that bit. But there's a slight difference, and what it is when you go to the 1st chord, instead of playing 4, 3, 2, 1 here like we did originally, you play 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. So your whole hand is doing the same thing, but just one string across. That's the only difference. So from the fill it's... But as soon as we go to the next chord, which was the 2nd one originally, we're now back to where we were before. All of this is the same. Don't do that part. Okay, so that's the whole sort of first half of this intro. I'll just play that whole thing. Now the next part, the chords are a bit more conventional. We firstly play 2 bass notes to lead into the first chord, which is 5th string open and then 2nd fret. And then you hold down a C chord, normal C chord like that. You probably know that one. And then with this hand, we play 5th, 4th, both with your thumb, 3rd, and then 1st with your 3rd finger. So we're missing out that 2nd string. So with the bass notes to lead into it. And we go to a D chord, normal D, and here we play a similar pattern to the one that we did earlier, which is 4th and 1st together, 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st string. So it's the repeated pattern we kept doing earlier on. Then F major 7, which is a chord we've already had earlier, which is 3, 2, 1 and open on the 1st string. Same pattern that we just did with the D. So from the beginning of that section. Then we play the 5th string and the 2nd string both open, but hammer on to the 1st fret of the 2nd string, which is a C. And then leave that finger there and play this note, which is 3rd string, 2nd fret. So that's the first quarter of this section. The next quarter starts the same. Those 2 bass notes, open and 2nd fret of the 5th string. Then we do a C chord again, but this time we've moved the fingers, these 3 fingers across like that. And we play the 2nd string and the 5th string together. 2nd finger plays the 3rd string. 1st finger plays the 4th string. And then the 3rd finger plays the 2nd string. So it's then we go to a G, and it's the G, the 3 finger G. So you may know that one and that one. This is the one I think we want. And then we do a similar thing, but these fingers have moved back down again to where they were. We play the 6th and the 1st. 2nd finger plays 2nd string. 1st finger on the 3rd string. 3rd finger on the 1st string. So that little sequence is. And then we play a D chord, but it's a standard D to begin with, but add the little finger here, which makes it a D sus4, which is a chord you may have played before. And usually when you play D sus4, you have this finger here, even though it's not actually doing anything, because this one's in front of it. But you have it there ready because D sus4 normally resolves to D. Sometimes to D minor, but usually D. So we have all 4 fingers on. Play the 4th and the 1st together. And as soon as you've played that, you do a pull off with that little finger. And then this part, we play the 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st strings all together twice. And if you want to be very accurate, when you listen to the song at that point, it doesn't sound like he's playing all 4 strings unless you listen quite carefully. He is playing all 4, but the ones you really hear are the 2nd and 3rd. So it sounds like this. But I think he is doing this. They're the ones that sort of stand out. So this whole second sequence is so far. And then that was the first 2 quarters of this part. We then almost repeat the first quarter, which is this. The only difference is we go like this. Instead of playing 5, 4, 3, 1, we play 5, 4, 3, 2. So it's, that's the only difference. This next section is all the same. So if I put the first 3 quarters of this section together, it's and then the last part of the whole intro is very similar. Open 5th string and then the 2nd fret B again. And we play the C chord but play 5, 4, 3, 2. So these fingers have moved across like they did before. So that's quite easy. D, normal D. Those fingers all move down like this and we play 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's a repeated pattern with this hand, but you just have to move across. Keep those with those strings. F major 7, which was 3, 2, 1 and open. And we just play all 4 strings together 3 times. That's the whole intro. So I'll play the whole thing from the beginning, so quite slowly. And that's the whole intro. Okay, good luck with that, and yeah, there'll be another lesson soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.